Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this session with Jpmorgan. Apologies for the slight delay, a couple of technical issues, trying to connect our colleagues from around the world. We are hoping that one of our colleagues may be able to join us halfway through. She's trying to connect in from Switzerland. But in the meantime, we'll have plenty more to tell you about over the course of the next half an hour or so. So my name is Paula Humphrey. I'm part of the campus recruiting team, and it's my job to go out and find amazing talent like you, inspire you to apply to Jpmorgan, educate you about our offerings and what we do, and hopefully see you through to that point where you make an application and then you get handed over to my recruiting colleagues. The point of today is to really have a bit more of an insight into our three most popular areas for candidates at Jpmorgan. So that's investment banking, markets, and wealth management. And in order to do that, I'm joined by three of my colleagues who are working in those areas, who are going to share their insights of what life is really like, what they do all day, but also why they chose Jpmorgan and any advice they'd have for you. One of the things that is really important to us when we're looking at applications is that people have done their research and have found really personal reasons for wanting to do the job that they're applying for, but also at Jpmorgan. So I hope that over the course of the next half hour or so, you might see some things that spark your interest or some things that resonate with you that you can share with others. So I'm probably your least important person on this call, and the people you really want to hear from are Mariana, Ellen, and Beata. So I'm going to ask you guys if you could introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what you do. Beata, your top left-hand corner of my screen. So do you want to kick us off?
Yes, hi. Thanks, Paula. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the event. My name is Beata, an associate in Jpmorgan. I work in investment banking department, and I work specifically in a FIG department, which is effectively doing investment banking services for financial institutions. I've been with the bank for more than 6 years now. I was an intern in Jpmorgan in 2013 during my studies. I was studying accounting and finance. And I was successful in turning the internship in a full-time offer, and I've been with the bank ever since.
Great stuff. Thanks, Beata. Ellen, can I come to you next?
Yeah, thanks, Paula, and hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I'm Ellen O'Brien, and I work in our European equity sales desk, which sits within the markets line of business. So I actually am a relatively new joiner. I joined back in January after interning in summer of last year. And I am a biology graduate. So I graduated university in last year and did my internship straight from uni and then joined full-time in January.
Cool, thanks, Ellen. And then Mariana, welcome. I'm very happy that you've connected, and tell us a bit about you.
I'm so sorry about the delay. I was having some technical issues. So I'm Mariana. I'm also kind of a new joiner. I joined around 1.5 years ago, last July. I'm working out of the Geneva office in the Latin American team. So I'm Brazilian, and I actually cover Mexican clients, and I'm in the private bank. So what we do is we help clients, private clients that are from the wealthiest families around the world in their everyday needs. So we take care of banking needs, investment needs, lending solutions, wealth advisory, and we work with our teams in the solution sector as well. So we partner up with them. So yeah.
Thanks, Mariana. So let's get straight into it. And you know, the title of this was, you know, what does it really mean to work at Jpmorgan, or what's it really like? So we often get asked, what's a typical day? I think it's safe to say you probably never have a typical day, do you? But I wonder if you could just tell us about the kind of activities and tasks that you would take on as an analyst or associate in your role. Ellen, should we start with you this time?
Yeah, sure thing. So I think the first thing to know about markets is that the structure of the day tends to be quite similar, but the contents of the day can be very different. So in equity sales, we work on our hours based around the stock market, which opens at 8 a.m. So the typical day for us, we get in pretty early at around 6:15. And the most important thing for us is to read and engage with the Jpmorgan research. We have a huge research department who will produce written research on different stocks. And if you're in the more macro side, it might be on commodities or their view on rates. And essentially, the first thing as a salesperson is to understand that. Secondly, we then go into our morning meeting where we discuss our views on the markets and what we're thinking about the day and potential catalysts for the day. And then my main role from there is to speak to clients. And in markets, our clients are professional investors. So that's hedge funds or institutional investors. And essentially the role is, and I guess actually the really important thing to point out is that markets has 3 distinct roles. So as I said, you've got research, sales, which is what I do, which is essentially has 2 different roles. Firstly, communicating the Jpmorgan view and your own personal view about the market to clients. And secondly, taking orders when clients want to trade on those views. And then the third function is the traders, who basically create a 2-way price on the order that comes in and manages the risk of the Jpmorgan book. So I think that the main thing is about speaking to clients who are the institutional investors and just making sure they're well informed and giving your opinion and acting as an advisor. And yeah, I think that would be the typical day.
Brilliant, thank you. And that must get very interesting when there's funny, strange things happening in the markets and people having odd views. So that sounds really, really fascinating. And yes, your day can turn on its head pretty quickly, I can imagine.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's quite a part of it, is that news flow is super important. As I said, like the structure of the day can be similar, but you'd never know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to come in the news, and it's super important for markets, and they react on that. So it can be really, really exciting.
Cool, thank you. Berta, I'm guessing you kind of have maybe a more sort of longer sort of cycle of things in your area, but tell us a bit about what you would be doing.
That's very true. So we are investment banking, effectively advising clients on what strategic decisions they should be taking. And effectively, our work can be split in 2 main parts. One is marketing, when we're trying to generate idea and we're actually trying to win the business, and we're going advising the clients of what we think they should be doing in terms of either merging with someone, selling something, or acquiring an asset. And we also give them advice on some sort of capital actions. So do they need to raise equity, or do they need to raise debt? That's part of the business. So we're trying to create this dialogue with the clients, and then hopefully also at the end of it, get the mandate, and then we go into execution. That's how we call it. So that's when we actually have a mandate from the client and we're working on a specific deal. It really varies from effectively I want to say a month to month, how much time you're going to be spending on marketing and how much time you're going to be spending on executions. Everyone is obviously slightly more interested in executions because that's where you actually get to know the client. Then there's actually like things happening. You're in more constant dialogue with the client. Just generally, it's a more interesting part of the work. And what we try to do there is usually we do try to come up with a story, with a strategy, how to help with the client. That's where we also do, for example, valuations of the companies that everyone is probably more familiar with. And the end of it, hopefully we get to announce a deal to the market after, usually it's like okay, I want to say usually, but there's like, it could be like up to 1 month project, and it could be more than a year project, right? So it's a very long-term sort of timeline as well, I guess. I think, Paula, you're on mute.
Sorry, that's got to be the most overused phrase of 2020, isn't it? You're on mute.
Yes.
Followed swiftly followed by, can you hear me? Sorry, thanks, Beata. Mariana, you work with private clients, individual clients. Can you tell us a bit more about kind of what that entails, what your day looks like?
Definitely. So I would say my day is similar in both ways, a little bit to Beata and Ellen's. But for us, keeping in mind that our clients are Mexican clients, our time difference counts a little bit in the scale. So we get to the office around 8:30 in the morning also, set up our Swiss side, take care of the day-to-day like business as usual. And our clients wake up around 2 to 3 p.m. So until 2 to 3 p.m., we don't really get any client exposure. And from then on, it's about like nonstop just with client calls. So we have to make sure we get everything set up beforehand to be able to just deliver on the client calls, because we compete with firms from all around the globe, and this means that there are companies in the US that have much closer of a time frame to them that are having much more time to talk with the clients. But on a day-to-day basis, we have a lot of exposure with the clients. I would say they're individual clients, so they're from very big families, very important people, and we have to keep that in mind when speaking to them. Some of them are very simple and don't really understand the markets. They just, if you can imagine an agricultural business person that doesn't understand anything of investment, so you have to keep in mind who they are when you speak to them. But we also have very deep clients that understand the markets very well. For instance, we have people that are owners of finance institutions who are very difficult clients and understand the market sometimes, as well as our experts. So I would say our day goes mostly fixed around the clients, but we have to make sure that we talk internally to the team and internally to our Jpmorgan support system to get ready for those client calls.
Brilliant, thank you. And does that mean, given that your clients are waking up about 2 or 3, does that mean you tend to kind of go a bit later into the evening? Or can you go later into the evening sometimes?
I would say so, yeah. So, I remember my interview very well, because I studied in the UK, and university hours in the UK were very, let's say, nice to the students. And I remember coming in for the interview, and they would say, these are long hours. And I would say, yeah, of course, definitely. And they would say, I'm not joking, it's more than 12 hours, and you often leave the office at 10:30 at night. And it's normal. It's not the IB times, but it's the private bank times that are a little bit similar, but you also have to note that. I remember something someone said to me. I remember this until today. It's not the investment bank, because we don't work that much with institutions. It's private clients, so at least we sleep when our clients sleep. So that's what I would say.
Brilliant. And I think it's important, isn't it? Because this isn't a career you choose when you want to just do 9 to 5. But it can be really, really exciting. So I was wondering, and obviously I know there'll be things that you can't share, but what's been the kind of most exciting or most satisfying sort of thing that you've done so far? Berta, let me come to you first on that one. What's been the highlight so far?
I think for me, one of the key projects I still sort of like cherish up until this day is actually something I was working on as a first year or second year analyst. It was recapitalization of one of the Greek banks. And what that means is this Greek, probably all of you have heard already that the Greek banking sector isn't doing particularly well, and it has been the case since 2008. So after I joined, they were trying to raise equity from investors, and that was effectively our deal. We had to, first of all, understand what is the capital need for the bank. And then we usually when we go to the investors, we create up to 100-page presentation of trying to explain how this capital is actually going to be put to use. And we're trying to also effectively tell a story, sell a story why the investor should be investing and what the returns are going to be. So that's effectively the back work that we're doing. And this comes again to what I was telling, what we're doing in terms of like executions for like, so this is 3 months. We're like working on this for like day to day with the clients, sleeping in the Athens Greek client's office, trying to get this presentation done. And then I remember it to this date, in November 2015, we finally launched the date. So all of this happens. So there's like, I want to say like 50 people probably working on the project in secrecy. We finally go to the market. So we announce that this is happening. And what happens then is we actually go to effectively Ellen's part of the world. We have to go to the trading floor and we have to get brokers sell the stock of this bank to their investors. And I remember we stand on the trading floor. We are given effectively 10-15 minute time slot to introduce whatever we've been working on for 3 months and tell the story. And I remember to this date, we're still giving a pitch. And there is already traders. Oh, I have this stock already coming to the market. Are you interested in stuff like that? It was just such a great combination of seeing how your work actually gets translated into like the investor world. So for me, it's still up to date. This is just amazing experience, and the deal was successful. The bank is still solvent to this date, so I guess it's good.
Good. That does sound really exciting when you can really see all your hard work just out there in the public domain. Yeah, that must be very satisfying. Well done. Congratulations. Mariana, how about you? What have been a couple of maybe one or two of the highlights for you so far?
Definitely. So for me, what I would say is I really appreciate this company, the fact that they're a very, they don't have such a hierarchical structure. So, I mean, we can reach out to MDs, EDs, everyone. And in the same way, we can reach out to the clients. So I get emails all the time from clients just to myself. And I'm the youngest person here, the newest one and the most junior. And it feels really nice to be part of a company that appreciates everyone on every level. Definitely they know who has more experience than others. But for me, to know that since a young age we have client experience and exposure has been something that it's almost priceless. And one of the experiences I've had was with clients, actually. So most of our clients are in Mexico, so they live in Mexico. And before COVID, they used to visit us a lot, which was, I would say, for me, it's my favorite part, the actual client exposure. For you, it's similar to Bate, that we get to see our work, like that we put in behind behind the curtains, come to life. So we plan, we talk to the team here, we create the structures, we create the tips, we create solutions. And when we present it to the client, to see them actually, well, they might be interested or not, but to see their interest in it is something that's, for me, incredible. And I would say having the client experience, we have one of our clients came here around 3 weeks ago. So it's something that hasn't been happening very often, but they were able to travel from Mexico. And that was something really special because we worked on this proposal. I mean, we haven't seen clients since, I would say, February. So this was one of the first clients every one of the team saw. So everyone was really excited. So it was kind of huge. And the clients were considering moving location. So we planned an entire proposal from, I mean, everything you can possibly imagine, from houses, from schools to the children, for investment proposals to finance their life here on every kind of level. When you work with human beings on a personal level, you have to think about every single factor that goes into their life. So that for me was, I mean, very nice to be part of. And I think that was it. Yeah, the clients went back to Mexico. They were very, very happy. I can't share much, unfortunately, but I would say having the real client contact was, and still is, my favorite part.
Great. Yeah, that does sound really, really satisfying. As you say, kind of get a little bit of everything, which is really interesting. So Ellen, what is it for you that makes those 6:15 starts bearable and worth it?
Yeah, I think, so the first thing I would say is that I started at a very, very odd time. So obviously I came into the office and the global pandemic hit, and the markets absolutely crashed to the floor. Like everyone was saying, we've never seen anything like this before. And for me, this was, I didn't know that this was any different to any other normal day. And the reaction from people was just crazy. And the clients just didn't know what to do. And I think that's the first thing. So I'm kind of on the same point as what Mariana was saying, is that I got this exposure to clients so early because they just needed help from Jpmorgan. They needed our advice. They didn't mind that I was an analyst. All they wanted was to say, what do you think? Like, what's Jpmorgan saying? And they really, really valued your view. And it's amazing, really, that you can be 2 months into your career and there's someone calling you saying, who's 20 years in, saying, I need your help. So I found that really amazing. And I think kind of 6 months down the line, you build these amazing relationships. And yeah, okay, I haven't actually managed to meet that many clients either. It's been a really, really tough time with working from home, and lots of people have been very reluctant. But there have been a few times where we've managed to have a dinner with a client or two. And I think they're just so appreciative of the work you put in, and that you hear it from them firsthand how much of a difference you make. And so for me, I talk specifically to hedge funds. So a lot of these clients can be quite small. Some of them maybe 3-4 people in an office. So they really, really value Jpmorgan. And I think this sort of first-hand interaction for me has just been incredible. And also just the learning experience. As I said, I came in as a biology graduate. Finance, I was not well versed in finance when I came. And the learning opportunities that Jpmorgan have provided have been incredible throughout the internship. And even now, we have regular teach-ins. I did my virtual New York training this summer, and they're funding me to do my CFA. So I just think a combination of the client interaction and the amazing support that Jpmorgan provide in terms of learning has been my highlight.
That's brilliant. And yeah, I think it's been a weird time for all of us, but like you guys have all said, I think we've had a lot of support, and have made it quite easy for us to work from home, apart from when we need to connect to technology, and then it's a bit more tricky. But that's more to do with our very sophisticated and too clever for their own good security systems. I know we haven't got a lot of time left, but one of the things I really wanted us to talk about was the Jpmorgan culture. It's a question we get asked about a lot. And I was wondering if there was just one or two things that made you want to come to Jpmorgan. I'm sure you all had offers from other banks. You had other things you could do. What was it that made you come to Jpmorgan? Mariana, I might start with you if that's okay.
Yes, of course. It seems very recent, the change. I mean, a lot has happened since, but I remember the day that I was looking in many different banks and in many different corporations and trying to understand what their culture was, what their values were, because it was a big decision. I remember being a student, and it's a very daunting experience. I just really fell in love with the fact that Jpmorgan really appreciates their employees. And they don't just say that. I mean, we're here in the employee appreciation week right now, and 30 minutes ago, someone was walking around passing cookies. And it's one of my friend's birthdays, and I brought in cookies. She brought in a cheesecake. And even with the masks, everyone just comes, grabs a little bit, and celebrates in these weird times. I know that I'm Brazilian, and I know that I work in a Latin floor, but for me, this doesn't feel like a team of coworkers. It feels like a little family that we created. Everyone is like, the culture is so nice. We laugh all day. We work with very serious things and with very important themes, but at the same time, we have fun. It's very long hours. It's very hard work, but everyone is open to talking to you. Everyone is open to having a relationship with you. We have incredible people. I really do believe this firm has the most talented and most incredible people I've ever seen in any other companies. I mean, I only have pretty much 2 years of experience, but I believe very much in our people, and I think we can offer so many different things. I'm international, and Jpmorgan stands for international people in an incredible way. This bank has so many different nationalities, and they really do accept, and even they want us to travel and to live in different places in different countries, and they really like mobility. This is something that I looked for personally when going into the company. Our headquarters are in New York for at least the LATAM team, and we have constant exposure to the New York team. I didn't go through the COVID training, unfortunately. I mean, fortunately for me, but unfortunately for Ellen. So I actually went to training in New York, and we went on a trip there to New York. We spent 3 weeks there, and I met analysts from all over the world. We were 318, I think, last year. And for me, it was just incredible to have that kind of exposure and to see so many talented people from different places. It was a little bit of a celebration, but this is a big thing for me. And also, I think we embrace different cultures and many diversity issues as well. I think we were talking about it before, Paula, but we have some extracurricular activities. We would call it like groups, and I'm part of like Women on the Move, which is very oriented towards developing women and women in finance. There's also Adelante, which is for Latins. There's Bold. There are many different teams that you can be part of. I mean, Beata and Ellen, you guys can talk a little bit more about that. But for me, I think that's it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mariana. Ellen, I'll come to you next if that's okay, because this is obviously kind of a fairly fresh decision for you. So what was it that made Jpmorgan the place that you wanted to come in and do 6:15 in the morning? I'm globbed onto that because I like my sleep.
So firstly, I would definitely agree with everything Mariana said. I think that's all absolutely spot on and 100% true. I think the thing that really attracted me to Jpmorgan, so I actually met people from Jpmorgan before I applied on one of the networking events. And I just thought that there was just this culture where there was sort of no stupid question. You could always ask something if you thought it was relevant or if you thought it was interesting, and there's always someone to help you, and there is always someone who will be able to find someone who wants to help you. And I think that for me has been the most amazing part. And since I've been here, it's just such an open culture whereby you can go and talk to people on other desks, you can go and learn about different asset classes. Yesterday we had a presentation from banking, and they explained what they're doing and how the structure there works and how we can be helping them. So I think it's just an amazing culture, and it's incredibly open. Especially you have access to some more senior people as well, which has been incredible. And I think very quickly, just secondly, would be just access to really, really incredible professionals and the best people in their field. I think every single person in my desk all of the senior people have been here for 20 years. They have so much knowledge to give. They are the top of their game. They are so incredible at talking to clients, and it's just an amazing place for me to learn off these people. And there's always so much to give and so much to learn. So yeah, adding on what Mariana said, that would be what I would add.
I think you're absolutely right. That's the advantage of being somewhere like Jpmorgan is we do have some of the best people in their field, and we get to work with them, which is another reason why I love being here as well. So thanks, Ellen. But I'm gonna leave it to you for the last kind of comments on why Jpmorgan and maybe our culture, and then we'll turn it over to Q&A. So anything that you would like to add or share from your perspective?
I think for me, there's everything that Mariana and Ellen said, I could just effectively second it, because everyone I think that works in Jpmorgan feels the same way. When it comes to my own decision at the time, the thing that actually set it apart, because when you meet people in all the networking events, everyone seemed nice and across all the banks, but in Jpmorgan especially. But what really mattered for me was two factors. One was the interview process. When I came out of the Jpmorgan interviews after the assessment center and generally, I felt like they were trying to help me also through the interview process. So if there was a question I was struggling with, I never received a negative sort of I don't know, not even a scoff or something. They were trying to guide me through and see how I think. So I came out and was like, I will be upset if I didn't get this just because I want to work here, rather than because I didn't feel like I did well in the interview, right? Well, in other interviews that I was going through with the other banks, there was if you were struggling with some question, they were keen to point it out, let's put it that way, right? And I didn't like that culture. So I thought, okay, this is something I probably want to take a risk on. And then the second thing that really, really, in my mind, actually sets it apart is actually working in the bank. So when I was doing the internship within the team that was effectively also looking to hire me afterwards, I felt like I'm in the right place. There were people that were supporting me throughout the whole time. I saw myself able to work in the same team also in a longer term, not because I wanted a job in banking, because I actually felt support and I liked the people I was working with. And this is one of those things I also see this year. For example, I was an intern staffer within my team. And that's one of those things that whenever we were giving offers to the people, we were telling them just also think to yourself whether you see yourself in this team. And the feedback across the floor was I love the team. The culture was so encouraging. And even this internship was slightly different because it was virtual, but even then everyone was I felt like you're helping me grow so much, and I feel so much supported that I think this is a great start of your career. And I think that was definitely one of those things that set this apart for me.
Brilliant, thank you. That's great. Thank you guys all so much for sharing your experience. I know we had a lot more that we wanted to talk about, but we're actually out of time, and we wanted to give a little bit of chance for a couple of questions from the audience. So I think Nisha is going to join us and maybe shout out one or two of the questions that the people have been asking. If we don't get to your question, please do come along to our booth. We've got plenty of colleagues from all of the areas represented here, plus risk and asset management, who'll be able to answer any other questions that Nisha, hit us. What do they want to know?
Oh, thanks, Paula. Hi, so I am Nisha, I'm from Rate My Placement, and I just want to say a big thank you for all those great insights into JP Morgan. Seems like a great place to work. So I have been monitoring all the questions that have been coming in, and we've had a few. And as Paula said, if you've got any other questions, because we've only got a few minutes, please go to the booth afterwards. So to set us off, the first question is, what advice would you give to students who don't know what area they want to go into? Because I know you all spoke about your different areas. So yeah, is there any advice you'd give?
If I can maybe
you guys all know what you wanted to do.
Maybe. I think the first step is actually attending events like this, right? So listening to different experiences. Try to go to attend as many recruiting events as you can. Try to reach out to people maybe on LinkedIn. Try to just generally read about what the business does and try to understand where do you see yourself best, right? So for example, if I talk about my own personal experience, I remember that when I was thinking about the career, it was like, I like long-term projects. I like developing something over long term. So like I felt like I'm more an investment banking person versus sales and trading, for example, right? That's one of those things. And it's just, again, try to apply for spring weeks and try to get internships. That's also another way how you test whether the environment is good for you.
Yeah.
That's the key advice from my side.
No, absolutely. And I think, Ellen, you mentioned that you did a biology degree and then you've gone into banking. So yeah, what made you change your mind with that?
Yeah, so I think that I sort of did my degree because I enjoyed it, and it wasn't necessarily something that I was planning on doing for a career. So when I got to the end of university, I thought, I would really like to find a career that I want to do for the long term. And I think, as I said, I did a couple of networking events across different industries, and this was the one that I was really drawn to. I think in terms of markets, yeah, it is less project based, and I think that the important thing here is just to understand what your skill set is. So I think in markets, it's important, it's very fast paced. It's sort of lots of information coming in. It's always something different every day. So I think that's something that if you enjoy that, and then it could be perfect for you. But I think the really important thing, and sort of to reiterate, is that if you educate yourself on what the different roles do by coming to these events, then you can quickly find out maybe which part of the business you can be drawn to. And you have to remember that within markets, within banking, within the private bank, there are different functions that you can go into even within these parts. So we're just a very broad overview, and there are lots of different functions within markets as well.
Yeah, brilliant. There's lots of opportunities available. So I've got a question from Nicole. It says, what makes JP Morgan distinctive from other competitors? Anyone?
I think this also comes back to the culture already discussed before. So the culture definitely stands out in my mind. Another thing I think that Mariana maybe alluded to already is just the global footprint that we have. We work on a daily basis with clients across the world, with teams across the world. We have also different internal mobility opportunities effectively also. I think, and just generally also the fact that JP Morgan is, in my mind, like sort of like a one-stop bank, and we offer such a big variety of products, is that you also get different exposures across the bank and across the industries as well. I think that's definitely one of those things in my mind.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. And sorry, just looking at the time, we've only got time for one more question. So this is probably to all of you. So Marion, I'll go with you first. If you could name one thing, what's the best thing about working at JP Morgan?
I think I'm going to have to be a little bit cheesy and say the people.
Yeah.
That's what it is for me. In the end of the day, we are here for the
absolutely.
most part of our lives. I mean, I love the work that I do and I find it extremely interesting. And as I mentioned, having client exposure is incredible, but you spend the entire day with your colleagues and your teammates. And for me, just having these people around me is what makes my day and makes my job worth it.
Yeah, brilliant. Lovely. And Ellen, over to you.
Yeah, I agree. I think the people and the clients, I'll leave it there. But yeah, both amazing.
Yeah. Paula?
I think mine's a bit different just because of the role that I do. I've never worked in an organisation that's got such a lot of different opportunities under one roof, but also is really supportive of people moving around. I've worked at other banks where if you were an intern in an operations role, there was no way you were going to get to front office, or there was no way that if you worked in tech, you were then going to go and work in a business analyst role. And I've seen both of those things in my time here, and pretty much everyone I spoke to when I joined had done something before, and I just think that's really, really exciting. You've got that opportunity to work with the best in that one field you choose, or you've got an opportunity to move around, try things, find what you're good at. And I think that's probably a function of the size of the organisation we are, but also how much trust people put in each other here. And if you're good, you're good, and that's why you're here. So why wouldn't we help you move around and spread that out? So I think that's something for me that I think has really stood out from other places that I've worked.
Yeah, oh, brilliant. And Beata, I'll just come to you.
It's little to add to all the
great
things you mentioned, but for me, it was definitely also people in the company that just generally the deal exposure you can get as part of Jpmorgan.
Yeah, definitely. So people and culture definitely what it is like. But I just want to say thank you so much for all those insights. I've learned so much about Jpmorgan. I'm sure the audience has too. So I just want to say, if you've got any questions, please go over to Jpmorgan's booth and have a lovely afternoon. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nisha. Thanks, everybody. See you in the booth.